Hello, this is Dr. D, and I want to talk a little bit about career planning today with you. And much of this material is based on a ACS webinar, alternative and traditional careers in chemistry and related sciences. So I want to talk about more about traditional careers, and not just chemistry, but also medicine and dentistry and other things that you might go into. So let's talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm no psychology professor, but I thought some ideas here translate into what you need to think about in terms of career. So maybe you know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, maybe you don't, but there's this triangle, this pyramid actually, and the top is everything needs to support below it. You need to meet your most basic needs before you can meet the higher needs. So your most basic needs are your physiological needs to be able to breathe, good air, food, water, sleep, take care of bodily functions. And then your safety needs need to be met for you to be a successful individual. Security about your body, your employment, your resources, your health. And then a sense of love and belonging that people care for you and that you care for others, for your friends, your family, sexual intimacy. Esteem, next highest level, you've got these things built underneath you, and then you can work on your esteem that you have confidence in that you can achieve things, and that you have respect of others, and that you're respected by others. Then at the very top is self-actualization. You've reached the pinnacle that in terms of your morality, that you're creative, you have to be spontaneous, you solve problems, you like prejudice, and you accept facts. So that's general psychology there. But what about in terms of a career? These same things play into your career, and the basic needs in terms of just a career, physiological, that just really becomes your salary and stable employment. And your safety, you want a stable work environment, you want good benefits, you want to work in a safe environment. And then a sense of belonging, that you have cooperative peers, you got a good boss. And then as you're building your career, you move to the esteem level where you have respect from your peers and colleagues, recognition, good job perks, and good job titles and rewards. And the very top, the self-actualization, when you've reached the pinnacle, you're an achiever, you have autonomy, and you become a subject matter expert. And so that's in terms of a career. So the rest of this little video, we're going to talk about the difference between career and a job, and talk about a career management cycle, a business of self-assessment, skill assessment, and what your career objectives are, have a career development plan, look at some career options in industry and elsewhere. And so what's the difference between a career and a job? Job could very well just be short term. Career is what you're looking for long term, for the rest of your working life. And in terms of job, you might have not much opportunity for growth, whereas in career, you want to have a lot of opportunities for professional growth. So using this Venn diagram, you can think about three areas of career versus job: talent, marketability, and passion. And so you're trying to find the sweet spot in the middle of this. And so the ideal for your career is that you're going to hit the sweet spot. The job we'll see as we go along here. So if you got an overlap of your passion and with your talent, that's just really a hobby. And your passion versus marketability, you're just a fan of whatever it is that you're talking about. Talent and your marketability, you overlap just those two. That's where you're actually in your job, that you're marketable, that you've been able to get a job, and you put your talents to work there. The sweet spot is where your talent overlaps with your passion, overlaps with your marketability, that people want you, and that's where you can build your career. And so the college versus the world of work mindset. In terms of college, you're the primary owner of your time. And that's what you've been thus far. Whereas when you go out in the working world, time you're at the mercy of your employer. Although being a professor is great, you only have to be certain, meet your class times and your office hours, which in your office hours, you get to schedule how you like them. And so you have a lot of flexibility in academia, whereas in industry, you're punching the clock. College, your financial worth awards depend on your efforts, and financial awards are fixed and determined by your employer when you go out in the work world. In terms of college, your work and leisure are often fused together. You can go study out on the courtyard when it's a pretty day and warm, like you'll be in a few weeks this spring. And leisure comes after work is done when you're out in the work world, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. In the college, you get to decide your work, what major you want to pursue, what elective courses that you get to take. In the world of work, your work is directed by your supervisor. The department chair gets to tell you, professor's department, what they're going to teach, what the schedule is. But other than that, there's a lot of flexibility in the academic world. Industry, completely different. Your work is totally directed by your supervisor. You have a very flexible schedule in college. You have a very structured schedule in the work world. College, you got professors to deal with. Professors. World of work, you got your supervisor. College, frequent breaks and time off. You got spring break, fall break, summer, the winter break, lots of time off. Whereas in the working world, limited time off. You might start off with just 2 weeks vacation that first year. College, personal control over your time, your classes, your interests. Whereas in the world of work, you're primarily responding to other directions, to the directions and interest of others. In the college world, your effort determines so much. It's primarily an individual effort, whereas in the world of work, it's often a team effort, a lot of collaboration that goes on. In college, you got a lot of intellectual challenge trying to build your talents and skills. In world of work, you still have some intellectual challenge. You also have an organizational challenge as you work with all these collaborators. In college, you focus on personal growth and development, whereas out in the work world, you're focused on getting results for the organization. We saw that with Andy Caldor in the Buckyball video, for example. So looking back at this intersection of another type of Venn diagram of values, interests, and skills and how they interact. And so if you have interests and skills, but you haven't developed a good set of values, you may not be very well fulfilled in what you're doing in terms of your job. If you got your values and your skills, but you don't have any interest, it's going to be boring. And if you got your values and your interests in a job, but you don't have the skills to do that, you're going to be frustrated. And what you're trying to do, once again, is find that sweet spot for your career. And that's where your interests and your skills and your value sets all overlap with one another. So career management is important. Nowadays, people have a number of different jobs throughout their career. I've been to College of Charleston for almost 39 years now. And in the industrial world, you probably wouldn't have the same career, the same job during your career. You might bounce around from different companies. But if you're a research scientist, for example, that's your career. And so you want to build up to be able to be a success in that. And so you need a conscientious and structured plan because you want to have personal fulfillment. You want to achieve goals. You want to have financial security, and you want to balance your life and your work. And so there's this career management cycle that we want to talk a little bit about. Where are you now? Where do you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 40 years from now? For y'all, 40 years for me, I'll be dead. And so that's really a self-assessment of figuring out where you are now and where do you want to be. How do you get there? That's where you're taking skill assessment and your career objectives, and trying to figure out how it is that you get to where you want to be next, and along and figure out what sort of support that you need. And then as you want to keep improving, you have this career development plan, how you're going to make yourself better to get that next promotion, for example. And so, and then you continually go through this cycle so that you can ever be progressing, ever be getting better. And so as faculty members, we did this. We came in as assistant professors and we worked hard to get tenure. And then we became associate professor, and you work harder still to become full professor. So self-assessment, where am I? You know, you're in science, you're in chemistry. And so maybe you've become this path by choice, that you just have loved it since childhood. Maybe it's got here by default, that you made good grades in it. Or maybe you just, with those, you're just here because you really want to do something else, but this is where you're at. Hopefully it's by choice, and the good grades have come along with it. What about your passion for what it is that you're going to do? Yes, you really love it, and that's great. Can't ask for more. No, you don't have a great passion for what it is that you're doing, but you need the job to survive. And then you're undecided, you don't know, well, maybe training is not interesting, but maybe the job will be. Maybe hopefully you haven't been bored here in the chemistry department, but we've given you some skills, and you're hoping that you'll get out of here, graduate, and find a job in a career that you really like. You've got those basic skills that we've given to you. And so your perception for your career, what sort of salary you're going to have, give you financial security, you want satisfaction, emotional satisfaction, and you want stability. That you got a job that you can hang on to. And so your perception of your career, we just talked about salary, satisfaction, stability, and we'll compare those with academia versus industry. So salary, you get reasonable compensation if you're in academia. In industry, it's a lot higher compensation. If I were department chair right now, and if I were in the industry with 14 PhDs working under me, then I'd be making 2-3 times what I'm making now. But so what? I'm loving what I'm doing now. Satisfaction. In academia, you have a lot of autonomy. You have control over whatever research projects you want to do. Whereas in the industry, it's a common team goal. Speed matters. Costing the company money. As time goes by, time is money, and you're wanting to improve this product best you can and get it out in the market, sell as much of it as you can. And so you're continually trying to be on the cutting edge and with your knowledge, and also you got great infrastructure out in the industry. And in terms of academia, there's a lot of job stability once you get tenure. In industry, you got to continuously be learning and developing yourself. And there are mergers that take place, and rifts, reductions in force, downsizes that you got to be aware of and be ready to make some moves if that were to happen. So just talk about some skill building that comes into play. I'm just going to use a PhD as an example. It's more than a degree. When we've talked about this along the way in the other video that you've watched, it involves a lot of reading. Where you start out with is you do a literature review to understand the research trends and define what your project is. Then you're conducting original research experiments. You saw in the movie that we saw, I'm Naturally Obsessed. I mean, they're on the forefront of hot science there. And so you do your experiments, and then you analyze your experimental results, do your data analysis, and draw conclusions. From there, you present your research findings in a comprehensive and precise way in the form of research publications. That's what really counts. And also presentations at conferences. They're important too. And then you write up that dissertation and defend it in an oral exam. And so there are all sorts of different skill sets that you need. got to be able to think critically. Got to have a lot of creativity. You got to be a good problem solver. Got to have conviction to stay through to the end, as we saw Rob do. There's decision making that takes place along the way, which paths of your research to go down. You got to have good communication skills with your mentor and your colleagues, and also when you present your dissertation defense and your writing skills as you write a dissertation. You got to have some emotional intelligence that you can look at your metacognition, how well do you learn, and self-assessment of your capabilities, and being able to go with the flow. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit. So this career development plan that you need, you want to make an ambitious personal commitment because you want to be a success in life. And so you need to develop a roadmap, some action plans. And so it involves some self-reflection about figuring out who you are and being honest with yourself. That's often really hard to do, is to be honest with yourself. And then you take action. And so, what are you and what do you want to be? There's a leap of faith to get over to that. And so there's a lot of planning that really ought to go into that development. I'll call this person back. Sorry about that. And so some tips for your career development plan. You want an ambitious goal. You want to believe in yourself. You want to have confidence, but you want to be overconfident. Have a realistic understanding of who you are and what your capabilities are and what your strengths are and where you need to grow or where you don't have those capabilities and you need to rely on somebody else. You want to have an aggressive plan, but with practical timelines. You want to find a good mentor. Mentors are very important. Somebody who can be honest with you, who you can be honest with to help guide you along your path. So you can learn from their mistakes so that you can avoid those. And self-awareness and periodic evaluation are very, very important. And so, most people think, it's either pass or you fail in life or on a project or whatever. But what really successful people know is it's just not you pass or you fail. There are a lot of failures along the way before you finally get to the goal and the win at the end. And so fail forward. That's a phrase that Dr. Rogers often uses. Learn from your mistakes, fail forward. Yes, you've got to sit back, pick yourself up off the floor and learn from that and move on. So, which path are you going to take? Industry, higher ed, government, working for yourself, maybe going into medicine, dentistry, or whatnot. A lot of these things will still apply with those fields. And so we've talked a lot about academia. I haven't alluded to pre-college education. We need great high school, middle school science teachers and chemistry teachers. That's something to think about. Different ways you can teach in college. You can go to Trident Tech and teach at that level. You can teach at someplace like the College of Charleston, PUI, predominantly undergraduate institution. Go to big research university. All those pennants that you see out in the hallway here, for example, a whole lot different pressure there. Where it's publish or perish. And then you can always go over the dark side, like I did, go into administration. And then there are also autonomous research institutions that you can go be a part of. Scripps labs come is one that comes to mind. Industry, R&D, there are all sort of things that you can do there besides being a big chemist. Go to research and development, product development, technical sales and marketing. They need PhDs to help with that. Industrial hygiene. I had a buddy in grad school, my best friend in grad school. He went industrial hygiene. He had a great career in that. I'm doing quality control and quality assurance in the manufacturing world. And technical writing, those are all different pathways in the industry that you can go with a chemistry degree. I even want to go to law school someday. Industry needs folks that IP transfer and academia for that matter, and the research institutions, technology transfer. government for all sorts of jobs in terms of regulatory management, helping develop policy, communication and public outreach, and science management and administration. And communication and public outreach or other routes to go. And going into science writing, if one of y'all wants to do that. Journalism, news outlets. You listen to NPR like I do, they've got a couple of science reporters there all the time sharing the news from the world of science. Dentistry, if you're going to be a dentist, some of y'all want to do that. You want to be a general dentist, practice family dentistry, go to just pediatrics, specialize in that, orthodontics, going to oral maxillofacial surgery, be a periodontist, endodontist. I've in just my life, I've encountered general dentists. I had an orthodontist growing up. I have had root canals. I've gone to endodontists, and now got to go to a periodontist. Medicine. What field are you going to go into? General practice, emergency medicine, internal medicine, OBGYN, surgery, cardiology, anesthesiology, oncology, pediatrics, a whole host of different fields that you'll do your rotations in and figure out where you want to go from there. But you're the one that's responsible for your career. So you need to take ownership for everything that you do. You want to set a high personal benchmark and always focus on your strengths, keep a positive attitude, and respect your mentor and leverage that effectively. Learn from the feedback they give you and learn from it quickly. Continuously upgrade your technical skills, reading, the literature, whether in medicine or chemistry or whatever, is so important. Have a collaborative mindset. My colleagues up here in the chemistry department, they often have collaborators either within the department or other institutions in terms of their research. In the industry, a lot of collaboration they have to go on. In the medical field, if you're the general practitioner, you got a patient and you're working with his or her cardiologist, an oncologist, or whatever, hematologist, and being emotionally intelligent, your self-awareness of where you're at on your journey, and once again, being able to understand your strengths and weaknesses is important. Being flexible is very important. As life comes along, changes are going to come along. Being able to adapt to them is very, very important. So being able to facilitate your well-being. There's that picture that you see, this quadrant. You want your love for your job and love for your life. That's the sweet spot for both of them. Positive emotions. You want to overcome that little hypercritical voice that might be in you, that imposter syndrome that many folks have, and I've had various times. How little me doing what I'm doing now? It's fool myself, I guess, to get this far. Engagement. It's great when time flies when you're having fun, and so be engaged and fully invested in what you're doing. I can't believe I've been here 39 years almost, but it's been a fun ride. I got a few more years to go, I hope. Relationships are so important. Your family, your friends, your spouse, your partner in life, your coworkers, other professionals, they're all what makes life grand, share the journey with. And meaning in life is important. That be something larger than yourself, to leave a legacy behind. I've been in a leadership role in College of Charleston administration as department chair or as a dean or associate dean since 1995, and I hope my legacy is many of these young faculty members that you have, and the great department that we have here. I mean, just a sense, it's so important to wind up with a sense of achievement, of satisfaction. For high achievers, that's really critical that you wind up doing that. So I want to tell you about Berdella. I'll finish up with Berdella. And she got a BS in chemistry in 1987, left here and went up north to one of the Philadelphia schools, I think, got a master's in science, and worked in some different fields along the way. And she's now a third-year medical student, doing rotations. She always wanted to go to med school, has some life challenges that she had to overcome. Applied very later on in life, got accepted. Did 2 years of med school, hit a roadblock there, had to sit out for a year or two because of some personal reasons, and now she's back and just delighted to be back and doing really well. And I can't tell you how proud I am of Berdella. So she was very adaptable and flexible throughout life, but she had this goal, and she had her challenges and her strengths, and played to her strengths and tried to boost up her address her challenges. And now she's in med school, and hopefully in another year and a half or so, she'll be Dr. Kenny. And I'm looking forward to getting that text from her at that point. So that's just a little bit of sharing about careers and jobs, and preparation, and what you need to be thinking about as you wind up your career here at College of Charleston. So thanks for tuning in.